Hi, my name is Ethan.
My name is Caden.
My name is Zane.
My name is Kazuma.
My name is Taylor.
So, what do you guys think about World War I?
Well, before World War I, battles were fought in lines of soldiers firing at each other at close range. World War I brought new technological advancements in weaponry that greatly affected how people fought during battles. Many new advancements in medical care were also created as a result of World War I. Even now, these new technologies greatly impact the modern world.
Well, yeah, it was a war, so they needed to get better weapons to kill better. And for that, they needed better intel as well. That's why they needed planes and balloons.
Elaborate.
Well, there were planes, balloons, and dirigibles, which were like the Hindenburg. They were used for bombing, spotting artillery, taking photos, and seeing into trenches. Although seeing into trenches on the other side was pretty dangerous. An article I read said that being an observer in a balloon or dirigible was risky business. You could be shot down by the enemy. Observation crews used parachutes long before they were adopted by airmen. Personally, I wouldn't want to be in those balloons. There was this bullet called the Buckingham incendiary bullet that would be shot at the observation balloons and ignite the gases inside, making everything catch fire. So for the observers, if this happened, sometimes their escape was too late or their parachute caught alight.
What about planes and dirigibles?
The dirigibles were just better balloons. They were stronger, more maneuverable, and more like the Hindenburg. This article I read said that they were a constant sight above both sides' trenches on the Western Front. But about the planes, did you know that there was this guy from Germany named Baron Manfred von Richthofen, aka the Red Baron? He won in combat 80 times. The article I read didn't say much about the actual planes, probably because planes are just planes, pretty simple. It did say a lot about the counters to planes, though. Of course, there were the fire bullets, but there were also, as the article said, timed fuses that would detonate shells in the air, dispersing shrapnel to destroy aircraft. Since there wasn't much technology at the time, both sides just took machine guns and put them on tripods. But in 1917, Germany made an 88mm artillery gun to shoot down aircraft. That's about the diameter of a toilet paper roll. The British also made some anti-air guns, one of them being what was called the pom-pom gun. All of these anti-air weapons meant more planes would get shot down, and by the end of the war, Americans claimed 58 aircraft shot down from 1917 onwards. British and Australian forces claimed 340 aircraft shot down. French forces claimed 500 aircraft shot down, and German forces claimed over 1,500 aircraft shot down.
The more you know. You know what? I remember Caden reading an article earlier. Caden, what weapons were invented during World War I again?
The flamethrower is an infantry weapon. It can send a jet of flame many meters away toward enemy troops. Inside was a device, a cylinder of oil being pressured by a propellant like carbon dioxide or nitrogen. Grenades, which were called bombs at the time, were used to throw at enemies to blow them up. It was a weapon to take out large number of troops. There were many types of grenades created during this time, including frag grenades, concussion grenades, smoke grenades, which was used to conceal movements, colored smoke grenades for signaling, gas grenades, and rifle launch grenades. Machine guns are a type of automatic guns that fire bullets in a rapid succession for as long as the trigger is pressed. It was designed for sustained direct fire. The periscope rifle is a type of rifle that allows troops to fire from inside the trench. This helps them by not exposing their position while they are firing at each other.
That's really interesting, Caden. Hey Taylor, I read in an article that soldiers in World War I used a tactic called trench warfare. Do you know anything about it?
Trench warfare was a warfare between two opposing sides of networks of dug trenches. Trench warfare was developed as a result of all the new technology developed during the war, like machine guns. Trenches were armed with defenses such as barbed wires and armaments. The land between the two opposing trenches is called the no man's land. It was uninhabited. It was an uninhabited area, bombed with artillery. It was usually filled with dead soldiers' bodies, shell holes, mud, and abandoned equipment. A very big downside of these muddy trenches were a disease called trench foot. This disease caused by the damp mud because of the waters in the trenches damaged tissue and blood flow, ultimately leading to an amputated foot to stave off an infection, possibly death. A quote from the worldwar.org says, "The mud in Belgium varies in consistency from water to about the thickness of dough ready for the oven," one British infantry wrote. The constant damp led to a condition known as trench foot, which, if left untreated, could require amputation to stave off severe infection and even death.
What was life like for people in the trenches?
Life in the trenches for the soldiers was very brutal. From history.com they said, infectious disease such as dysentery, cholera, and typhoid fever were common and spread rapidly. Soldiers had to deal with constant dampness that caused diseases, with additional bombardment from the opposing enemies. Additional information from history.com also stated, as they were effectively trapped in trenches for long periods of time under nearly constant bombardment. These constant endless bombardments eventually led to mental illness such as shell shock, also known as PTSD.
Hey Taylor, do you know that because of trench warfare, New technologies were introduced to counter and break the stalemate caused by the trenches.
No, I didn't. What kind of technologies were created?
One of these inventions was a tank, which was developed in response to the stalemate of trench warfare on the Western Front. It allowed troops to break through enemy trench lines and end stalemates. Tanks also provided infantry support and offered cover for soldiers. They also crushed the enemy's barbed wire and destroyed the machine gun nests. Another benefit of tanks is that they allowed people to cross enemy lines in no man's land. Today, tanks are still used in battles and war. Poisonous gas canisters were another new technology that was developed to clear enemy trenches. The gas was an effective tactic for clearing enemy forward positions during the war. These gases included chlorine, bromine, mustard gas, and phosgene. When the wind was favorable, the gases were released into enemy lines. But because of the short range of the canisters, if the direction of the wind changes, the gas could prove lethal to the side using it.
So what did people do to survive the gas?
What was it like for soldiers before these anti-gas measures were invented?
Well, Bert Newman of the Royal Army Medical Corps had this to say about the gas. And when the gas came over, you could see on the brow all these Algerians running from this gas. Of course, the Canadians were also there, and they got badly gassed. In the end, you could see all these poor chaps laying on the mine road, gasping for breath. And the thing was, it was no gas mask then. You see, and all these chaps just had to wet their handkerchiefs and put it over their mouths, or do what else they could, you see.
That's cool. You know what else is cool? The medical advancements that were developed in World War I. The methods of evacuating and treating wounded that were developed so quickly during World War I, or the origins of the technologically advanced tools used in both modern military medicine and everyday medicine today.
What type of new inventions were there?
Well, a few of the many inventions were like introductions, I guess, of technology, were ambulances, antiseptics, specialized anesthetics to reduce pain, obviously, because there was specialized anesthetics, so why wouldn't there be normal?
Yeah.
One of the more commonly used anesthetics being nitrous oxide, as well as anticoagulants to store blood in blood banks, were also developed because, there's not really any point of, treating a wounded person when they're just bleeding out. So those anticoagulants, probably helped a lot.
Like to end their suffering?
No, not to end their suffering. No, that's a bit dark, Zane. It's like to help, to stop bleeding out. But all of the previous, inventions, I guess, are still in use mostly every day in the world in hospitals, which is, it's kind of cool because World War I's so long ago and stuff is still being used, So, yeah. What else? Another popularized method in the medical field, which is still used today, is rehabilitation. And before World War I, it wasn't really popular because, rehab's like, oh, why would you want to rehab when your leg is gone? You're just going to be reminded of more pain. But rehabilitation for tuberculosis, tuberculosis, which was a new field that was doubted by many medical officers, was actually very successful, like more successful than they thought. So doctors started to trust the process more, and they started suggesting rehab more. They started to suggest rehabilitation more after injuries, because nowadays it's not as severe, like losing a limb or like getting permanent brain damage. It's more like breaking or spraining an ankle. So being able to use that again just feels really good for the patient and the doctor. They both have clear consciences, and it's also good for mentals.
I see. What you're trying to say is not all technology invented in World War I was bad.
So, what are your guys' thoughts on the technology introduced during World War I?
Technology that war brings can be destructive, but can also have benefits.
Well, I think that technology can be destructive and worse, but at the same time, it can help with problems happening in society.
I believe that technological advancements made during World War I that were not used to kill and fight, like the medical advancements stated by Kazuma, are beneficial to the well-being of society and the world.
Interesting. But honestly, I think war is bad as a concept, but since there's a lot of things happening, it can bring a lot, it leaves room for improvement, and it can help bring about change and development in the form of technological advancements, what I just said, medical stuff. Hey!
Two sides to everything.
Yes, exactly.
In summary, the technological and medical advancements of World War I greatly changed the world by introducing new medical practices and affecting how future wars were fought.
These new technologies still impact the world even to this day. That's pretty cool.